Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
thanks, Michelle.
Welcome. Yes, welcome so much to our solstice edition of Shaman Sister Sessions.
Yay.
Yay, happy solstice, Kat.
Happy solstice.
Yeah. So I treat the solstice, the winter solstice specifically, as my own personal new year. I'm not a huge Christmas person. I'm not really a New Year's Eve person. I don't like drunk people, and as we've discussed some of the challenges of being a sensitive person in previous episodes, and some of what that entails for not really having a party life, or maybe, but I tend to celebrate my new year and my deep introspective go within and set my intentions for the coming year on the solstice. And so if you feel so called, I invite you to take a moment and consider now, as we're stepping into this work here today, to think about, what are your solstice intentions? How can you cultivate within yourself a relationship with that which you fear and bring it into the light? How can you step into a place of receiving? How can you step into a place of unconditional love for your own process? These are some very winter solstice questions, and especially the Christmassy connotations around receiving and gift giving, and what gift can you give to yourself? That is my gift to you. What gift can you give to yourself for this solstice? And Kat, guess what? As people are thinking about that, remember I told you about those amazing lunar cards that I ordered?
Yes.
They came yesterday. Yay. So I would love to draw a lunar card for our solstice episode today.
Okay, good.
Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
All right. You caught me between shuffles, so we're just going with this one. We've got the waxing crescent, which is envision. Let's see if I can get it without a glare. Very beautiful lunar waxing crescent. Here's what the back looks like. It's just totally stunning with this silver embossment on there. Yeah, I'm totally geeking out over these cards. It's great. So envision. That's basically what I just asked you to do. Hey, let's envision as we, we're coming into setting. Right. Oh my God, it's like we're psychic or something. What? Right. As we envision setting your intentions for, what gift would you like to give to yourself? How can you go from the darkness? And especially because the solstice is that it's the longest night of the year. It is the darkest point. Here, the waxing crescent, this is the second card. It's just, this little tiny sliver of moon. We're going to be coming into this phase, not the lunar phase, but this phase of the year. In a couple of days here, we're going to be coming into, okay, the light is starting to come back. So how can that breathe life into your intentions? How can the light illuminate for you and help you grow and manifest in these very thoughts that we're having right now of what can you call in for yourself in that dark space?
Yeah, beautiful.
Yay.
Yeah, and we wanted to talk today about it was funny you had it. I mean, it always seems like the perfect thing when we have our little call on Monday to go, hey, what's coming up for you and what are we talking about, and to be landing in this space of the solstice and the holidays and gift giving and receiving and just the concepts on receiving. And as we are in that space of the darkness, and for a lot of people, we sort of enter that space of the darkness at this time of year. And, we kind of, in our society, have this like crazy idea that if you're not like, yay, everything's amazing at all points in time, that you're depressed or you're, there's something wrong and you need to fix that. But at this time of year, it's really common for us to want to kind of hibernate, go inside, get cozy, be alone, or just with the people that we're really close to, not socialize as much, even though we have like all of these holiday parties that we're supposed to go to. And to be in a state of reception and receiving in, you know, in our own system of, you know, what are we really letting come up within us? What are we really looking at and sitting with in that darkness, in the darkness of our own soul, and letting ourselves enter into that space and not judging ourselves for being in that kind of dark, you know, kind of a little bit gloomy, receptive place where we're not pushing and making action happen and getting a ton of stuff done, but we're really letting ourselves have reflection over the last year, and you know, where we are, and, you know, kind of maybe visioning some stuff that's going to sprout in the springtime, but like letting the quietness kind of envelop us, and to sit underground with the seeds that are yet to have, you know, made their way up. You know, if the seeds, most plants, if they start sprouting too soon, they don't make it.
Yeah.
So we don't usually give ourselves that permission and time to kind of just sit in this moment, which is the darkness and the quiet and the reflection.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm really glad that we're starting with the idea of what do you receive from yourself? Because, you know, automatically often people think about, oh, receiving, I'm receiving from other people, or I'm receiving from outside of myself. But really the first receiving is from your own space that you create for yourself, from your own body, from your own intentions. So I think, you know, Kat, that's the perfect place to start, and I'm so glad you did. You know, again, it is that idea of how do we put energy out? How do we take energy in? There's this exchange, right? And we live in a society that is so focused on the giving, and not even necessarily giving to other people, but like giving to your job. What is, you know, how do you pour your life force energy into your job to get a paycheck, right? You know, that's a very giving, not in a healthy or sustainable way, but that is an external like output of energy. And I was just talking with someone yesterday about noticing how your biorhythms change in the winter, where, okay, in the winter, like, and I've noticed this in myself too, I need to sleep more. I need to sleep later. I need to not set an alarm sometimes. Whereas in the summer, I can take clients later in the evening. I can start work earlier in the morning because I have more energy. And it is a time of output. But the winter is the time of going within, and a time of stepping back and taking your yin space. So this is the perfect time to be practicing receiving, not only in the context of the holidays, but in context of what does your body need? This is the rest and digest phase of the year. And if you're not familiar with what that means, there's, you know, your body has the like go mode, in which during that time when you're outputting energy, your cells aren't repaired. No, you know, your body is experiencing wear and tear, so to speak, as you're putting energy out. But when you sleep is actually when healing occurs. And it's the rest and digest phase where you process your nutrients and you receive from the food that you put in your body, and your cells are repaired and your DNA is repaired and your organs receive the healing that they need. So on the global scale, at least in the Northern Hemisphere right now, we are in our collective rest and digest phase, this receiving phase. So really taking advantage of that on your personal scale. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that one of the pieces around the receiving is this permission. And I know that a lot of the people that I work with, and I'm sure that you could reflect about this too, is that there's this sense of, I would be living a more fulfilled, more happy, joyous, be productive, you know, life, if only I would do my spiritual practice and do my self-care and, you know, do my art, like the things that sit in nature, the things that really are feeding the soul, that receiving. And it often takes so much almost like effort to get the permission from ourselves to do that, to take time for ourselves, and to, you know, really allow ourselves, this is what I need in order to be at my optimal level of being. And especially as we look at okay, going home for the holidays and the shopping and the craziness, and you know, dealing with, you know, children and their holiday reality, and how much output we're sort of like really encouraged to do. Like, we're encouraged to, you know, go to a job and work and come home and go shopping and cook and clean and be with, travel and go be with the family. And the family isn't really there's no time for, nobody's like, oh, we're gonna go do our family yoga practice. You know,
that'd be great.
Yeah, amazing. So, but that okay, we're like, it's okay to take that time if we stuff ourselves with food until the point where we can't actually move, and then all we can do is lay on the couch, and we half are like forced into that moment of rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we as people who are striving to be of a certain level of consciousness and health and well-being in our daily lives, then thrust into maybe our family of origin, and kind of the stressors that go along that, really giving ourselves permission to receive what we most need to receive, which is often time and quiet and
taking a little bit of space.
Yeah. Because we just don't want to give ourselves permission a lot of times for getting what our needs met, really.
Right. Well, also, you know, Kat, I feel as though there's a component of fighting the societal expectations when it comes to that as well. Because think about, you know, for many people, the holidays are the time when they see their family. You know, for people who don't live close to their family, they're going to make an effort and go home for the holidays. And there's, again, we're ingrained in the idea of it is better to give than to receive, right? Yeah. So you have a whole society full of people who are so focused on, again, that output of energy, and who can't actually necessarily, you know, there's a certain level of body awareness and emotional awareness. And, you know, we've talked about this in previous episodes, but it is all related, and it really does come down to receiving. And, oh gosh, my point totally flew out of my mind. But regardless of what it was, the family component, where maybe it's not safe for you to ask for what your needs are, or you don't feel as though, okay, if I ask for, hey, I need to go spend an hour by myself and just like go take a nap because I'm really tired, and your family feels offended by that, of what, we only see you once a year, and there's the guilt trip thing, and the, oh, but you know, don't you want to go play cards with your uncle who you barely remember, and like, and go, you know, catch up, and again, put the energy out, because it's the expectation of must pack in all of the family experiences into this very short window.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And when we don't have the experience of receiving what we most need to receive, we're still empty. So then we're looking for, well, what can I fill myself up with, and how much, you know, dessert and sugar can I eat, and you know, I'll just have that extra glass of wine, and you know, we're just like, okay, what more can I take and receive, you know, in lieu of what I really need.
Yeah. So, and I know there are many types of holiday celebrations out there. I feel like we're talking about sort of the ones that everybody dread, right? Of going home for the holidays to family that you're not super connected to. But people have all sorts of holiday experiences. And I know that this particular reality that we're discussing, there is this experience of dread and anxiety that kind of weighs on people. So let's take a moment and discuss what are some strategies for really honoring your needs and what you need to receive, how you can offer that for yourself if you are one of these people for whom this is your holiday reality. Okay, so techniques.
So I think something that's really important is to is to acknowledge what you need as far as like nutrition and food and stuff. And that there's a lot of people who have families in, you know, certain areas of the country where like food, vegetables, like really healthy organic stuff isn't what they're having on a regular basis. Lots of carbs, lots of meat, and sort of, you know, regular kind of food. And if you're used to eating really high quality foods and taking your supplements and your smoothies and all this stuff, and then you kind of go into this place and you can really kind of drain your energy by not sustaining yourself. But so, you know, not to be like, you know, oh, I'm going to be the total weirdo with my like bag full of crazy things that I'm going to blend into this thing. Well, you know, maybe you do be that weirdo a little bit and like come and blend something up with the maca and the ashwagandha and the, you know, and maybe make it a little bit yummy and share it with your family and get your nutritional needs met that might not be met by, you know, they're fine. They eat that way all the time. But if you're used to a certain level, just like go for it. Like bring your stuff with you and take care of your nutritional needs, because that can send you into a tailspin in a couple of days' time.
Absolutely. I think that's a very important component. And permission, again, I know we mentioned this earlier, have a little chat with yourself before you step into these family situations, or even if, you know, you're already in your family situation and you're having those moments of anxiety of, I need space, I need a moment. Go lock yourself in the bathroom by yourself. I'm totally serious. Go lock yourself in the bathroom, like sit in the bathtub by yourself for a minute and do a little breathing meditation to bring yourself back into your root, back into your feet, back into your pelvis, you know, your root chakra. You can put your hands on your hips. You can tap your feet, like, you know, if this is the bottom of your foot, you can slap your foot and kind of do some massage on the bottom of your foot to put yourself back into like, okay, I'm in my body. It's okay for me to be in my body. It's safe for me to be in my body. And I give myself permission, if I need to go escape and lock myself in the bathroom for 10 minutes, I can do that. Or if I need to say, I really need a nap right now, and do it in a grounded, peaceful, compassionate way.
I'm going to take a walk.
Exactly.
Go for a walk.
Go for a walk. Yeah, definitely. Give yourself permission to take space.
Yeah.
That's another big thing is go, you know who you are. Go hit your own reset button by being by yourself for a minute. Just go take some space, come back into your body, and then enter back into the situation.
Yeah. I think that's really important. And to just acknowledge who you are and, you know, what it is that you actually need in that kind of situation. Any other tips for
sleep? I would again say, you know, because there's that kind of like basic level human need where, okay, maybe you're staying at maybe your family gets a cabin together and there's, you know, not your regular sleeping arrangements, and maybe everyone's up playing board games and drinking or whatever, and that's not really your jam. Just go to sleep. Like, you know, I guess I'm noticing kind of a big theme of our recommendations here is be okay being a weirdo. Right. But really, that's kind of what it comes down to, is owning who you are and putting yourself first in these challenging circumstances. Because if you don't, everyone has had this experience, or I'm pretty sure everyone has had this experience of the holiday nightmare. This is culturally notorious for a reason, as the stress, anxiety-inducing screaming match over dinner, people getting too drunk, and it's like this is a stereotype for a reason.
And especially as we look at the inflammatory political reality in America right now, and the potential for kind of disastrous conversations at the dinner table, and how much consciousness and compassion and conversation, really seeing something from someone else's viewpoint, you know, not becoming judgmental of other people, you know, as a way of, you know, kind of protecting ourselves, and acknowledging that there are certain conversations that maybe don't need to be had with certain people at a certain time.
Yeah.
Being okay with that, and you know, having some boundaries, right? And saying, hey, you know what, I'm really not up for this conversation right now. I'm so happy to see you, and hey, what's going on over here? What's going on in this other part of your life? Or
Yeah.
I just did this thing and it was really fun, and what do you think about this, right?
Yeah.
And
that even, that, Kat, I think is a really important component of, politics and religion. Those are like the big two, right? Of like, don't bring this up at a dinner party. But I feel as though they're almost a front to be a shield for true intimacy, right? Because then there's this, as soon as you take those big kind of societal level things off the table, and I mean, everybody's got an opinion, right? As soon as you take those off the table, what's left to talk about? Well, you, right? And your personal reality, and how, okay, so maybe we're not talking about politics, but like, how do you feel right now in this current climate? Like, regardless of the climate, what is it bringing up for you? What are you noticing in your changing habits? Or are you taking a new class as a result of this? Or are you, practicing a different something, or whatever the deal is? Bring it into the level of personal intimacy, and then practicing that, truly like receiving someone's story, receiving that vulnerability, and offering your own story, your own personal connection, that it is wonderful to be received in that way too. Yeah. So I think that's another suggestion I have, is like, get to the real stuff if possible. And even for the most closed off people, there is a way in. Yeah. And this is one of my own personal challenges that I love to do, is if you meet someone who seems totally closed off, who has all the walls up and just won't talk, just kind of work around it, wiggle around it, see what you can find. And eventually, if you can get beyond that shield, there is some really wonderful opportunities for vulnerability and intimacy and connection that can come from that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, we rarely change anybody's mind by arguing with them.
Yeah.
So, one of the pieces around being able to stay in your center is just kind of remembering that some of it we can just let go.
Yeah, definitely.
When we first talked about receiving, the idea of receiving, I mean, beyond at this point of the year, and I think that receiving is a huge aspect of something that needs to be looked at and addressed and practiced on a regular basis, and looked at, like, really deeply look at our own relationship to receiving.
Yeah.
I know for me, I'm pretty good at receiving. I think I'm good at receiving. Mm-hmm. By and large, I'm good at receiving. I know that I came from a family where there were a lot of gifts given. There was a lot of hugging and I love you, and sort of those kinds of things. I think that I got used to receiving, and mm-hmm. So I think that I'm fairly good at receiving, and I think that the places where I've had to work more are in the places of, it's okay to spend this time doing nothing, which I love so much, but it's not that I got from my family that was wrong, but from society that was wrong.
Yeah.
Or that it's, to do something that's frivolous, right? That doesn't mean anything, that I'm going to spend, hours and hours and hours working on this painting of octopus tentacles,
which is so stunning. It's beautiful.
It's not finished yet, but it's like, how many hours have I put into painting these tentacles? And there's that light part of me that's like, oh well, is that worth the time, effort, and energy that I'm allowing myself to have that but when I do it, I'm just like, it's so happy I get to do this. And so in a way, even though I'm doing something, I'm receiving in that. I'm really receiving.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting, Kat, because I'm noticing in what you're saying, there's the aspect of receiving from others and from your family that was pretty easy and intuitive for you, but it sounds as though you personally had to cultivate more of the practice of receiving from yourself.
yeah, I think so. And to acknowledge receiving. I think that many of us have to look at where we want to give all the time, especially as healers, where we see this almost like give and take, where if you give me something, I need to give you something, instead of just being an open receptacle and receiving and being in that sort of feminine space of reception.
Yeah.
In gratitude of, wow, thank you. Or if someone says something to us that's really beautiful or really, really nice, and how does that land? How comfortable are you receiving a compliment? Do you have to like throw that compliment, another compliment back at the other person as quickly as possible to take the focus off of you? Or can you really just sit in it and go, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you would say such a thing.
Yeah. You're reminding me of this, I'm pretty sure it's just a little YouTube video that was going around at some point, like, I don't know, more than a year ago or a couple of years ago. And I'll give you the short version of this video. It is, I would say, common societal practice of you receive a compliment and then you brush it off, right? That's how most people receive compliments of like, oh, wow, your hair looks really amazing today. Like, oh, whatever, it's like, I didn't have time to shower.
Right.
And,
yeah, that's
right.
Oh, this old thing.
Yeah, exactly. So this YouTube video was, and it was all women too, which I think is definitely an indicator of how, women particularly, we are the, very just archetypally speaking here, you have the masculine as, the external energy, and the women, the feminine, as the receiving energy. And yet in women, I think this is way more pronounced of not being able to take a compliment. So you had these like 5 or 6 women who are all complimenting each other on various things, and all of them are dismissing it, saying, oh no, whatever.
Definitely like woman to woman, it's almost more because we're like afraid of like hierarchy and things.
Yeah, right.
We're so naturally tuned into social structure and trying to stay really in a good feminine with other female social structure. We have a really hard time taking compliments from each other.
Yes, and yet that is a very unhealthy feminine social structure. So you have these women complimenting each other and brushing it off, and then the last woman who kind of walks up to the group, someone says something nice to her, someone compliments her, and she says, oh, thank you. And all the other women's heads explode. In this little video. So it's very, cartoony kind of satire there, but really for, this woman to say, oh, thank you, and totally own it and not immediately offer a compliment back, not brush it off, but actually receive it is just this like mind-blowing thing for these other people indoctrinated in this kind of competitive, dismissive structure. So it definitely takes some rewiring of that brain. This is something that I've been working on for years.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how are you with that? How are you with like receiving compliments and stuff?
I'm much better than I used to be. So I remember I actually wrote an article about this, I think a couple of years ago with, I think it was about 2 years ago, with this person who, and honestly, I think part of my challenge with this had to do with the person that it was coming from. I remember this guy I was dating would, just shower all these compliments all over me. And I think part of my problem was just with the guy, because, we didn't stay long. It was like a couple of days. But I couldn't receive it. I just was like, no, I can't hear you on that. I cannot receive that. And I wrote an article of like, why? Noticing in myself, why am I having such a hard time with this? And I think at that point in my life, there were other factors at play. There was, some other worthiness stuff going on. There was, I was in sort of a housing challenge at the time too. For whatever reason, nothing landed on me. I just couldn't take it, couldn't receive it. But I definitely have been working on that over the last couple of years, calling in my Taurus goddess self. My inner Taurus goddess has been a huge help with that, because Taurus is the ultimate tantric archetype, and so really examining my love of beautiful things. And I love soft fabrics. I love, my giant hoodie here, my giant, beautiful, like amazing witch hoodie, and my stones and my soft bed and my beautiful colors and my artwork, and lavishing myself, surrounding myself with things that I love, has made it, and particularly focusing on offering and receiving from myself, has made it easier for me to receive from other people. So that's been a practice of the last couple of years, of saying like, yeah, I'm going to receive this amazing massage. And I feel so good. I feel so in my body. I don't need to give you a massage right now. Thank you. It's not that I don't love, right. It's not that I don't love and care about you. It's just that I'm so glowing in this space that it is not a desire for me to put that out.
Right. And we know that when someone can really receive, and I'm sure that you've experienced this with clients, where there are certain people who it's so hard for them to receive healing because they just can't receive anything, like the energy. They can't let the energy in. They can't let their bodies relax into receiving.
Yeah.
And it's challenging to, it's challenging to give to someone who can't receive. It takes almost more energy to give to someone who can't receive.
Exactly. It feels depleting to be in that situation of, oh, you're trying, so trying to work on somebody who just for whatever reason has this significant blockage and can't accept this energy. It's like pouring healing down a black hole. Is kind of what it feels like. Whereas you have someone who is saying, yes, I give my full permission for this healing to take place. I surrender to this energy, and I feel so light doing that. It feels like, yes, this is going exactly where it needs to go. Everything feels totally in alignment. It is totally fulfilling for me. Yeah.
It's night and day. And we know that receiving is healing in so many different kinds of ways. I remember I think I was maybe around 30 or so, and my partner at the time threw me a big birthday party. I had this weird relationship with my birthday since I was little. I had a birthday party when I was maybe like 9 or 10 years old. I had a great birthday party when I was 9. When I was 10, I had a birthday party and no one came except for one girl. And I remember really feeling like it meant something about me and people didn't like me. And I had all these stories and my birthday, and it felt really traumatizing. And it was this big, weird thing around my birthday. And I remember he threw me this birthday party and all these people came, and it was just really beautiful. It was really special. And at one point we had sort of this like stage in the loft that we lived in, and I stood there and everybody sang to me, this huge room full of people, and everybody sang to me and they were like pouring love to me. And oftentimes you'll see during like a birthday celebration, the person who's it's their birthday, like if people start singing to them, they're just like super uncomfortable and they're like, oh, just please stop, don't do that. And I feel like that was me in the past, and I just decided to open to it and just keep opening and keep opening and keep opening and receiving and receiving and receiving. And it was so beautiful and overwhelming of love, and I was just like so full. It was transformative to allow myself to receive so much love from a room full of people. It was so heart touching, and I was definitely transformed from that experience of just letting myself receive.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I hadn't heard that story about your 30th birthday.
Yeah.
So I know what kind of party I want next year. Yeah.
you know, or receiving. I think when I left Portland, you guys had a beautiful party for me and like put me in the middle and like sang to me and gave me love, and that was so healing too. And I've seen that in other gatherings or events or whatever, like just putting someone in the middle and showering them with love and juicy, yummy, like telling them how much they mean to you and how much that heals people on such a really deep level, because we just don't have access to that.
Yeah, when they can say yes to it.
Yeah.
I would say that, you know, when there is that they have given themselves the permission to receive, then it is so beautiful. And think, you know, this is something that I actually, not the being in the middle showered with love, but I had over the weekend a couple of really interesting opportunities to practice receiving and reflect upon how good it feels to be the giver in that situation too. You know, and I love giving. I'm a very generous person. It feels really good, and it is such a joy for me to create an experience for somebody where that I get to, you know, cook them food and they get to eat the amazing food that I made, and I will, you know, give someone a head massage and they get to totally relax and melt. And I think about, okay, if that person either, you know, is unwilling to receive that, or like, no, you don't have to. It feels like it kind of shuts me down a little bit. And so I'm noticing in myself there is that receiving is giving too.
Yeah,
and that is,
I always say that for you know, sometimes working with people and they'll have a hard time receiving from their partner or, you know, friends or whatever the situation is, but it's like they can't receive from someone. They're shutting off that energy. And you know, the question I always ask is like, think of how good it feels when you give to your partner or your friend or your client or whoever it is that you're giving to. And think of how, like, honestly, like how selfish it is for you not to allow someone that same pleasure, because it is so pleasurable to give. And if you won't let someone give to you who wants to give to you and they love you and they want to give to you, and you won't let it happen, it's painful for the other person.
Yeah, it's this, you know, what reflections are they taking on from that of like, oh, I am less than, I'm not good enough to offer to this person who I love so much, right? Or, you know, there are all sorts of ways that people twist and interpret this, but it's, you know, it is continuing that cycle of joy, that cycle of generosity, that cycle of let me nurture you and also be nurtured. From a full cup I offer to you so that we can continuously fill each other's cup.
Yeah. I think that we talked about, I think I told you about this, this is just over Thanksgiving, so this wasn't very long ago, but that my partner and I actually had a big fight because he had this headache and he was sick, and I was trying to like nurture him and touch him and give him medicines and, like, you know, and he was just not having any of it. He was so in his pain and his thing, and he definitely he's a huge giver, and the receiving piece is he still has, you know, challenges in that, and you know, has a hard time like accepting compliments and gifts and stuff like that, and he's so amazing. So it's you know, I'm like, I got so just triggered within myself around, you know, I'm a healer, like just let me put my hands on you, like let me, you know, let me give to you, like I just want to give. And how like totally triggered that I got from not being able to give.
Yeah, because it effectively shut down your exchange, really.
Because then I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I'm like, okay, well, now what?
Yeah, shut down your exchange. And I mean, especially for you, you were a very nurturing person, you know, and I know this about you. As much as you like to receive, you also like to give. You like to, you know, you made me soup and fed me soup when I was visiting you, and just like watching you zip around the kitchen and like make tea and, you know, do whatever, and like get me a blanket as I was, you know, sitting outside, or bringing me a plate of food while I was on the phone. It's like you're a very, very nurturing person. And you know, there are people who are more in tune with that part of themselves, And yet we all have our inner nurturer, our inner part of ourselves who loves to be in that position. So it is just as important to nurture our own inner receiver. Mm-hmm. This is the, you know, again, I keep going back to that Taurus goddess because, you know, she's been, my inner Taurus goddess has been a huge part of me in the last couple of years, awakening to that part of myself as generous as I am. And I know this about myself. I can compliment myself this way. I receive this. I am generous. I am kind. I am loving. I am compassionate. I love to offer to people I love. I love to make them food. I love to give them massages. I love to help them with whatever they need help with. I love to spend time with people. And I see that in all of these ways, putting out this energy is only half the equation. And I've got to let it flow back into me. And, you know, so again, this last weekend, I didn't actually tell that story. I live on a hill, which in Portland turns into an ice fortress anytime there is snow. So even if the whole rest of the city is totally fine, I live a few hundred feet above elevation of the rest of the city. And the cars pack down the snow into a pretty impassable ice land. So I will be stuck in my house for a few days. And I was watching cars slide backwards down my hill. You know, so I wasn't going anywhere. I was like, nope, I'm stuck in my house. And my man friend had invited me to go to this show with him. He wanted to take me to this jazz show. And so I'm sitting there in my ice fortress kind of thinking like, okay, well, you know, I can't go. And he says, let me come pick you up. I'll come pick you up. And he lives over in the opposite corner of town. So I was thinking to myself, like, oh yeah, no way. He's going to drive all the way to my corner of town and pick me up and take me to this show. And then, you know, I'll spend the night at his house or a couple of days at his house or whatever. And he's going to bring me back to my house. No way. Like, that is too much for him to offer me. That is too much to receive. That's like, you know, that's a huge favor. It's asking him to go total drive time, 45 minutes to an hour out of his way. No. And I had that initial response of, I cannot accept that. And then I asked myself, and this was a pretty quick little mental conversation. This all took place within a couple of minutes as I was on the phone with him, and or on the phone or texting. And I was asking myself, where on earth is that coming from? That here is this person who cares about me, who wants to spend time with me, who wants to create an experience for me to enjoy with him. And continue to build this connection and this caretaking. Why on earth can I not say yes to that? So I decided, you know what? Okay, I'm going to say yes to that. I will allow this person to go out of his way to offer me this loving gesture, this loving caretaking. I have a car that can easily go in the snow. You know, he's like a snow tiger, snowboard instructor person. He knows how to drive in the snow. So he says, yeah, no problem. I'm going to come get you. And he did. And I had a very magical weekend with him. I stayed at his house for a couple of days and got to be on both ends of the giving and the receiving with him, in that I felt really cared for and taken care of, and I didn't have to drive at all because he was driving us around in the snow, and we went to this beautiful jazz show, and I get to receive, you know, receive some wonderful intimacy and caretaking from him, and also feel so full that it was just pouring out of me too, and we were in this beautiful little infinite bubble of caretaking and receiving and nurturing and giving. And there was another moment too when I was carrying my backpack around. We were walking around downtown and I had my backpack with all my stuff in it, and he offered to carry it for me. And at first I said no, again with that same thing of like, oh, I can't let you carry this 25-pound backpack. That's too much. That is not okay. I will do it. I am strong. Even though I am tired and my shoulder hurts, I will do it. And then I had that same moment of what the hell am I doing? Yeah, just say yes. He's carrying, okay, carry my backpack 3 blocks, you know, and let him do that. And we did have a little bit of a conversation about the part of ourselves that loves to nurture. You know, he calls it his white knight, like he loves to be the white knight. And that feels very fulfilling to him. So for me to let him be the white knight was awesome on his end.
Yeah, because if that's someone, you know, when someone has that, it's like when someone is a healer, when someone is kind of like, oh, I like to be acts of service. My man's very acts of service guy.
Yeah.
Very acts of service. If I don't allow him to do acts of service, then I am like punishing him.
Yeah.
You know, if he's just like, I'm going to do this thing for you. And if I'm like, no, that actually shuts him down. That's his gift. That's his, you know, that's who he is. It shuts down part of who he is. So to really then instead say, I so appreciate what you just did for me. That was amazing that you just showed up and saw that thing needed to be fixed and just decided to go to the store and fix it.
Yeah. It's that validation of, yes, I see you. I receive from you. I accept you.
Yeah. I receive from you and I accept you. And that's a huge thing in relationship. I receive from you and accept from you. We don't have a ton of time left, but I really want to talk for a second on the relationship that this has. We often have a lot of healers and, you know, empaths and different kinds of mystical beings that are listening to our show. So how this receiving is correlative to our work.
Yeah, you read my mind. I totally wanted to go there. And our intuition. We talked about intuition last week.
We talked about intuition last night. Yeah. How can we be intuitive? You know, how can we be receivers? So a lot of my work, and you know, your work, you're an amazing channel. And that experience of what does it take to be a channel? What does it take to be an open channel for healing or messages, whatever that is that's coming through? You know, it has to do with surrender and allowing for receiving.
Yeah.
And if we're not good at receiving in other areas of our life, if we can't take a compliment, we can't receive a gift, we can't let somebody carry our backpack, if we can't, you know, all of these things that we have a hard time receiving, doing our self-care practice, doing our spiritual practice, letting ourselves, you know, take the time to meditate, all those sort of like mundane aspects of our life, if we're really not good at receiving in those places, we make it harder on ourselves for receiving the energy that wants to move through us.
Yes, absolutely. And so I invite you, all of our viewers, to think about, you know, especially if you are attuned to, you know, a practice, or if you do practice shamanic healing or any type of energy work or intuitive work, think about that same concept of, okay, I am, you know, there's that giving yourself permission to receive. I give myself permission to allow this energy to flow through me, right? There are a few important points we talked about today. Permission is one of them. There's that aspect of worthiness too, you know, and I know this has come up before. Yes, I am worthy to allow these energies to flow through me for the highest and greatest good. You know, that's a huge component that I work on with a lot of my clients and students and my mentees as well. The yes, you are worthy. Yes, you are psychic. Yes, you are. Say yes. And so how. Right. And so just as we talked about these examples in relationship where, you know, you have a tangible person, you know, family, friend, lover, whatever, it is easier to see that, okay, that loop of give and exchange, you have that same relationship with your guides.
Yeah.
You have that same relationship with spirit. And so here spirit is wanting to offer you experiences and knowledge and messages and love and energy. And if you say yes, it's even greater. And it's not about you draining force or whatever. It's not about you like using too much. It's not about you, you know, being needy or whatever. It is about you receiving and plugging yourself in to be that hollow bone, that perfect conductor of universal love to flow through you and then go to other people who need to receive it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, another aspect, just a tiny little touch on that is, you know, working with a lot of healers, the part around receiving for the gift, right? Of receiving financial abundance. I'm looking in my eye as like I can see that I have, like you can see my altar in the back, and I have this fat stack of money because for some reason I had an intensive this weekend, a weekend intensive, and I had another client this last week who showed up with cash. I haven't seen cash in years. What the hell? And showed up with all this cash, and it was really interesting because it you know, in the work there is the, hey, I'm signed up to do this work in the world. I need to receive financial abundance for that exchange.
Yeah.
And a lot of healers and psychics and people who are connected to spirit have a really hard time with receiving financial abundance through their gift because it doesn't seem right. And so that's, I don't know any healer who hasn't had to work through that blockage around finances and abundance. We should do a whole topic around that, right?
Absolutely. Yes. We will revisit that.
This cash, and to have someone just like hand me this big stack of cash was interesting because I really got to receive it in a way that you don't when somebody just throws it in your PayPal account and you swipe a credit card. It's a little bit amorphous in that way. And so, you know, to receive it and then to be in honor of the receiving and the gratitude of the receiving, and to allow the receiving to become part of the practice of the flow of energy, that there is this universal flow that we want to be connected to at all times, that we are outpouring and we are influxing, and we are outpouring and we are influxing, and we are expanding and contracting and expanding and contracting, and it's everywhere all the time in all aspects of our lives. And when we shut off flow in one place, and that might be through whatever it is, love, you know, orgasms,
right?
Money, you know, service, wherever it is that we're disconnecting ourselves from receiving, we're also disconnecting ourselves from being able to be expressions, right?
Yeah.
If we shut ourselves off from financial abundance through our gifts, like, we then no longer have the finances in order to go out and support another healer and buy somebody else's good that they made, and that's going to support them buying something for their child, or, you know, that flow, that constant in and outpouring of energy that we want to be tuned and tapped into.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's this other component too, in terms of the a little bit more in the intuitive, energetic aspect of the receiving giving cycle. And we have touched upon this a couple of times in various episodes. When you're in a position where you're receiving intuitive information, if you shut it down, it kind of goes away, right? It's not, you know, if you say no to it, if you're not willing to receive it, it's going to fade into the background. And so, but by saying yes, you know, you're right. I am an amazing channel. And the reason that I'm an amazing channel is because I kind of had this idea a few years ago, actually. I was like, there's no reason I couldn't do that. I'm kind of doing that already. So I said yes to it. And as soon as I said yes to it, it started pouring through me. And I just kept saying yes.
Yes.
And all of this work, right? Yes. I want to see things. I want to hear things. You know, you commented on like these visions that I have. I see very, very clearly. I was so hungry for that. I said yes. I said, yes, I want to receive this information. Please help me be a vessel to receive this information, to receive this healing, and let it flow through me. So that's how I fill my cup to the brim and over with love, with spirit, with my gifts. And, you know, from my guides, I have a very, you know, lovely exchange with my guides. I honor them. I offer them things. I call them in. I meditate with them. So I'm giving back to them in awe and in honor and in service. And in return, I am receiving the most beautiful information and energy and messages that I couldn't ever hope to make up in my life. The beautiful things that pour through me. And so there are many components of this. I do think the finances one is a big one that we should devote a whole episode to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And so, and our viewers do, as always, feel free to chat in questions or comments if you have any. We are kind of wrapping up here, but let's think about what are some takeaways that we can give people from us today.
Receiving, it's fucking important. Like, you know, like really it is about acknowledging another level of awareness of self, right? Of really looking at, oh, I receive well in this kind of scenario and not in this kind of scenario. And how often am I saying no to the energy that's trying to flow toward me, right? When someone offers to buy me lunch or offers to let me sit at this, in this seat, and they're going to stand, like, how often do I say no? How often do I say no to someone wants to, whatever, they want to give me this compliment? And not that we're out trying to like grab and get, but how often do I say no to people's compliments or things that people have to say about me? And where am I cutting off the energy, of receiving pleasure, receiving love, receiving money, receiving gifts? Where am I uncomfortable with it? And really letting ourselves kind of sit in that and go, okay, what's that about?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
It's a practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we keep coming back to permission too. That's, I think, if we had to kind of give our bullet points of today, the noticing the areas where you are comfortable and where you're not comfortable, giving yourself permission to dip a toe in the water as far as like pushing the boundaries on your comfort, right? So me like saying, yes, please carry my backpack. That's kind of a big deal.
And even I want to say that if you realize that this is difficult for you, maybe you grew up in a home where this just is not okay for you to, compliments weren't given, whatever it is, you had a tough childhood, receiving isn't easy. Like, to break through that, it kind of takes something. And so maybe having a friend or a partner, a loved one, somebody, and just saying, hey, I'm working on this right now. Would you just like, sit down and maybe tell me some things about, that I can receive, and let me receive and take it in and sit with it and really let yourself receive. And maybe you go and that for a while, and then they go, and you get to have this experience of receiving.
Yeah.
And also of giving and getting to feel how good that feels too.
Yes, I love that you brought that up. That's a great exercise. And to that, I would also say, don't trade one-to-one, because that can feel a little bit like, oh, well, now I have to hurry up and think of a good compliment for you because you just gave me one.
Pound it in, like go until you just like are full, and let it sit with it.
Do you remember when we went to the puja, when I went to visit you in June, mm-hmm. and there was that, one of the exercises was, okay, with your partner, your friend, ask them what they want, and you wanted to receive that, tell me wonderful things about me. That was so fun for me to do. I just got to like pour out here are all these things that I love about you, and I love that, you are my sister, and it feels so good, and you're so powerful, and all of these beautiful things. And to have you soak that in felt absolutely amazing. And then we turned it around, and I got to receive that too. It was so good and so juicy.
Think of the people that you have in your lives, like your friends or people you collaborate with on projects or whatever. All the things you love about them that you don't actually get to tell them.
Yeah. Let's make it okay. Let's make it not okay. I would love to, right. And so I hereby, with my commitment to my own practice, I'm giving everyone in society permission to make this okay. Let us tell the people, find the people who you love in your life and hold them dear to you, and tell them why, tell them how much they mean to you. And it feels absolutely amazing, and have them receive it. And then if they feel called to do the same to you, receive that too. So, yeah.
The New World Order.
Yes. Yeah, that would be a good okay. So just the other day, man friend was asking me, if I were a dictator, what were what would be the 3 first laws that I would enact as a dictator? And totally glossing over, oh, I'm a dictator, okay, but I would be a very, very kind and benevolent dictator. I think this would be one of them, of like practice, practice emotional intimacy, practice vulnerability, practice sharing, practice receiving. And actually I came up with some pretty darn good laws. My biggest one was like education reform of like teaching mindfulness practice in schools and teaching communication skills, NVC in schools, right? But this would be another good one of mandate the communication and the receiving.
Be nice to each other.
Right. The law.
It's the law.
Yeah. From dictator Michelle Hawke. Okay.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. I received so much from this.
Me too. I feel so full, and viewers, I hope you do as well. Receiving, our joy. It is definitely our joy to share this with you, to share ourselves with you. You're getting deep insights here into the inner workings of two super powerful shaman ladies, and all of our silliness and vulnerability in that. And it feels really good for you to receive us. So thank you.
Thank you. And if you have any ideas about what we should talk about in the future, we're going to keep doing this Tuesdays at noon Pacific. And we'd love to hear your thoughts about what you would like us to talk about. And we are logging all of the back sessions, and we have a Facebook page.
Shaman Sister Sessions. Yeah, so on Facebook you can search for Shaman Sister Sessions. We also have our email address, shamansistersessions@gmail.com. If you would like to send us any ideas or any thoughts that you would love to hear us talk about, what are you excited about? What are some themes? We've already got a list going of people who've sent things into us, and there's some really exciting stuff on there, and the list just keeps growing. So please keep it coming. We love to hear from you, even if it's just a quick comment or a quick note. Please drop us the line.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, and we'll.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Kat. Yes. Happy solstice. Much
Happy
love.
solstice.
And hey, remember, let's remember our waxing crescent here with our envision exercise in being, I can talk about this forever. Okay, just remember your solstice intention and allow yourself to receive the influx of energy to nurture your solstice intention. That is our gift to you.
Yes, please.
Yay. Okay.
Bye, Michelle.
Bye.